Hey everyone, this is Kincade and welcome to the final episode of the 2003 Suzuki RM125 build. I submitted this bike into Cameron Yamala's Broke to Built contest last night. The voting for the contest starts Monday morning, May 2nd, and goes through Wednesday. So I need you guys to vote for me on this bike if you like my build and want to see me go through to the final 16. How it's set up is the judges already selected the 32 finalists to go to the voting round, and now it's public poll to narrow it down to the final 16, where it then goes back to a bracket and the judges can vote on the final 16 bikes. So if you'd like to vote for me and this beauty right here, I will put links to the contest in the description of this video, and I'd really appreciate your votes. This will not be the last video on this bike in general. I actually rode this thing on dirt today. I got some sweet shots. I'm looking forward to looking at that in the next video. Also, if you watched through this entire episode, I really hope that you appreciate the transitions of my hair throughout the video. Step one today is going to be getting a brand new Pro X chain installed. Okay guys, so I think I found the culprit for the bike not idling. Here is the slide that was in the bike. You can see right here, there is a pretty defined divot in the slide. That is where the idle screw sits. So, as I was screwing the idle screw in, it wasn't raising the slide. The slide has this gouge in it, so the slide was still sitting at the bottom of the carb. At least that is my theory based on that. So I ordered a new slide that does not have that gouge, and I think that's gonna solve the problem. So I'm gonna get it reinstalled and we'll see how it works. Okay, so the new slide is installed and the bike is back together, as you can see here behind me. I am going to replace the throttle assembly and I'm waiting on that. It's supposed to be here tomorrow, the 23rd, so right now we've got the good old just loose throttle cable. Can still fire the bike up and see if that fixed the idle issue. I sure hope it did. Well, it would appear I was right in my slide diagnosis. The bike now idles. So I think I had mentioned I bought a front brake from a 2015 CRF 450 just because it's so much stronger than the older brakes on the RM. I watched one of Cameron Yamala's videos and he says that you can fit a CRF front brake with no modifications just by using the mount for the RM. So that's what we're gonna try. But first I'm gonna use some Pryme wheels, get these all cleaned up. Got some fresh front brake pads, and I also got a new steel braided front brake line from Galfer. The front brake is now installed with the fresh brake line. The CRF 450 front brake did mount right up. That routing's so much cleaner than the old RM routing. The original routing for this brake would have gone all the way down and around. The brake line is a little bit tight with the placement of the number plate. With the Restyle kit, the number plate sticks out a little bit farther, so I'll have to keep an eye on this and make sure that's not an issue, but I don't think it will be. 1 week left to have this thing done and submitted to Cameron Yamala's Broke to Built contest. Headed up to Big Sky for their closing weekend, so I'll resume the bike on Sunday night. Good morning. Today is Monday, April 25th. The Broke to Built contest ends this Saturday, and the bike is nearing completion. Down to the wire here, but everything's looking like it should get done. Time to get this rear brake bled. front brake is bled and feeling solid. This vacuum brake bleeder kit made this job take literally a half hour for both brakes combined. This would have taken me probably an hour for each brake with the old-fashioned method. I think this kit was like 20 bucks and is well worth it. All right guys, it's now Monday evening. Rushed home from work like a madman. I was checking the weather. It's supposed to be raining, snowing like the rest of the week, and I have to have this after video for the bike build contest submitted by Saturday night. So in case the weather is bad that entire time, I want to get the video shoot done tonight. So my throttle assembly parts arrived in the mail today. I'm going to get this assembled and installed on the bike, and she will be ready to go. Okay, the new throttle assembly is on the bike and functioning. Get her loaded up and hope that I have time to get this shoot done before the sun sets. And some WD-40 for the raw exhaust pipe. All right, so I'm at the spot. Got the drone set up here and got the bike ready to go. I had a handful of people commenting that the radiator hose is touching the exhaust pipe right here. As you can see, I actually swapped this from the yellow aftermarket hose back to OEM in hopes that it would do a little better. And it does do a little better, but it still does make contact. Now, the main issue is that in order to do this, I pulled the header pipe, and of course, while I was in there, I inspected the piston. And the piston has some scoring. I didn't get any shots while I was in there, but I am gonna tear it back down and put a new piston in it. I also need to try and diagnose why the piston got scored up. Just stumbled upon another realization. I just noticed this scratch on the ignition cover from the shifter hitting it, and I did notice that there's a little bit of play in this shift shaft. Okay, so the bike is all torn down. The crank doesn't seem to actually have any issues. There's no up and down play. Side to side seems okay. Here's the cylinder head. It has some minor signs of pitting. Here's the piston, all scored up on both sides. That is the nastiest part by far. There's also this little chunk out of this side. So certainly problematic. If you take a look at the cylinder here, it has markings all the way around. Granted, the cylinder is much tougher than the piston. None of these catch my fingernail or hook up or have any feel to them at all. But of course, I need to get to the root of this problem before just putting it all back together, because clearly something went wrong. I did lubricate every one of these things before installing them the first time, along with putting some assembly lube and two-stroke oil in the crank. So it should not have been a first startup issue, but it is possible. As it turns out, the shift shaft itself is missing its washer behind this circlip. And man, I swear I had it on here. I'm searching through my parts bins. There's not much left. The Suzuki dealer doesn't have it in stock, of course. So the Honda shop was able to track down a washer for me with the correct inner diameter, correct outer diameter, and half the thickness of what the washer is supposed to be. Now, if you look here, this washer really protects the shift shaft in the way that it pivots so that the circlip is not rubbing on the case. Of course, it'll have 0.5 millimeter more play than it's supposed to, but it will definitely get the job done. This washer actually makes the shaft sit farther in, which means that the shift lever simply is sitting too close and needs to be modified. So I'm gonna heat it up a little bit and try and bend it out just a couple millimeters to make sure it can't contact that ignition cover. While I have this apart, I am going to swap to the high compression dome with this Phathead cylinder head, and I want to show you guys exactly how easy that is. That's it. High compression dome is installed and ready to go. I removed the power valve component and cleaned the cylinder super thoroughly with soap and water and got any loose debris that could possibly be in there out. I went over the power valve components for a second time and made sure that they are spotless. I decided that I am gonna go ahead and put the 440 and 37.5 main and pilots in because that is the FMF recommended jetting spec, and that is for sea level in California. At my elevation, I should be even leaner than that. So by leaning it out just that much, I should be plenty safe, and based on the first start and the fact that the bike was certainly running rich, I think this is gonna be a good move. The carb still had fuel in it. This will clear it out so that the gas that gets run through in the first cycle is the high octane with that high compression head. So everything will be done by the book. So I'm going from a 460 main to a 440. And then I'm going from a 40 pilot to a 37.5. There we go, simple as that. All right, jets are swapped and we're back together, doing everything by the book. I see no reason this thing shouldn't run flawlessly. Now she's idling. Gonna let her warm all the way up, cool all the way down, do a couple heat cycles, and then take a look at this piston. All right, just got one heat cycle in on the bike. This is my first time ever using race gas, and I had no idea how strong the smell is, so pretty crazy. The bike struggles to idle when it first starts. It doesn't want to idle at all. I gotta stay on the throttle for quite some time, and then it'll idle really well with no choke once it's fully heated up. So like I've said over and over, I think the needle needs to be dropped, but I'm letting it break in rich. We're in the second heat cycle right now. This time she fired right up, no choke. Just heat cycled this thing again. Checked the piston last night, looked good. All right guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate it if you stuck around for the entire build series and got to see this thing come together. It's been quite an awesome process and I'm really excited on what I've created here. Like I said, I rode this bike on dirt today and I will be editing the video for that and getting that posted this week. So stay on the lookout for this bike's first time on dirt. You guys don't want to see my face to end the video. You guys want to see the bike.